The dust is settling on the West Hall of the Las Vegas Convention Center, and what EVO 2026 delivered in its 3-day run was something genuinely remarkable. A championship weekend that produced more all-time record milestones simultaneously than any EVO in 30 years. Let's go title by title because every single main stage result last weekend has something worth dissecting. Let's start with Street Fighter 6 because it closed the show on Sunday night and gave us the single most visually iconic grand final set of the year. Mena RD, Saul Mena II, won his 4th EVO championship by defeating Riddle Order's Shigematsu in a bracket reset grand finals, and both players were on Blanca, an all Blanca grand finals in 2026 at the biggest Street Fighter event in Western history. Mena RD came through winners. Shigematsu takes set 1 from the loser side 3-1 to force the reset, and then Mena RD locked back in and closed set 2 3-0 without blinking. No other player has accumulated 4 EVO championships within a single Street Fighter game's competitive lifespan. He now heads to Capcom Cup 13 as the defending EVO Las Vegas champion. The stat that keeps this moment in perspective, Mena RD won his 4 Street Fighter 6 EVO titles across EVO Japan 2024, EVO Japan 2025, EVO Las Vegas 2025, and now EVO Las Vegas 2026. A 2-year span of dominance with zero signs of slowing down. Now, Tekken 8. And this one resets the entire historical record book. Arslan Ash won his 8th career EVO championship by defeating Rangchu 3-2 in the tense grand finals, matching the all-time EVO title record held by Justin Wong and Sonic Fox. He went 11-0 across a 1,355 player bracket. Jesus Christ. Justin Wong holds 8 titles across Marvel vs. Capcom 2, Street Fighter 3, and Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Sonic Fox holds 8 titles across 5 different games. Arslan has now matched both, and every single one of his 8 titles came in the Tekken franchise alone. That is a staggering degree of focused dominance in a single discipline. The subplot that deserves its own spotlight, Arslan deployed Kunimitsu throughout the bracket, a character who had only been publicly available for approximately 27 days before EVO. He got into winner semis on Kunimitsu against Lowhigh, controlled that set in ways that nobody had established counterplay for. When he had flipped to Nina in grand finals to close Rangchu's Bakumram, it demonstrated exactly the kind of dual character pressure that makes him so hard to prepare for. Fatal Fury City of the Wolves crowned Shanghai as its champion, fighting through the losers bracket to claim his 7th EVO title, a figure matched by no other active competitor of any fighting game. Mexico's Daniel Maza placed 4th, continuing to prove that Latin America's City of the Wolves is not a regional curiosity, but a legitimate Tier 1 competitive ecosystem. And then there's the 2XKO story, which we will cover in its own section because it absolutely warrants it. What the overall results picture tells us, the fighting game community's top echelon is genuinely global right now. Champions and finalists came from the Dominican Republic, Pakistan, China, Japan, South Korea, Senegal, Mexico, France, Chile, and the United States. That diversity across the top of every bracket is not marketing language. It's a structural fact about where the FGC's competitive pool actually sits in 2026. That is awesome. Alright, here we go with the second story of today. Kenshiro just dropped live at EVO, and Fatal Fury is already teasing Season 3. The Shadow Drop play worked, and then it kept going. Kenshiro from the Fist of the North Star went live in Fatal Fury City of the Wolves on Sunday night. The moment the EVO 2026 Grand Finals wrapped, a live Shadow Drop timed to the championship bracket itself. SNK's Yasuoki Oda stepped to the stage before the City of the Wolves top 8 even began to tease what was coming, confirming that the character who has been teased since the 2.20 patch 2 days ago would be available that same evening. Tetsuo Hara, the illustrator who co-created Fist of the North Star along the writer Buron-san in 1983, recorded a personal video message for the release, saying, quote, "The time has come for Kenshiro to leave the post-apocalyptic world behind and take a trip to Southtown." When the creator of the IP shows up with that kind of endorsement energy for your DLC release, it tells you the licensing relationship went as well as SNK could have hoped. The character closes in Season 2, which ran at the pace of 1 new fighter per month from January to June 2026, a DLC cadence almost no other modern fighting game has matched. During the EVO weekend, SNK also confirmed that Season 3 begins in July 2026, with separate teasers already pointing towards Rick Stroud, the flamboyant boxing showman from Real Bout Fatal Fury 2, and the second teaser widely read as pointing towards Lord Laukren Gaudamus, the primary antagonist of the Fatal Fury the motion picture OVA, and a character who has never appeared as a playable fighter in any mainline game. The competitive implication to flag immediately: Kenshiro is confirmed legal for Esports World Cup 2026 competition in Paris, which opens Fatal Fury's $1 million prize pool tournament on July 7th. Nobody has had meaningful lab time on Kenshiro outside of the playtest demos at SNK's EVO booth. Goichi Xiaohai and the rest of the EWC City of the Wolves field are going to be running emergency sessions this week on a brand new character that they've had less than 48 hours with, knowing that he may show up in a bracket at that tournament. That is exactly the kind of meta disruption that makes the first week after a major drop electrifying. Alright, with the next main story of the day, Hikari defeats Sonic Fox in the 2XKO's EVO Las Vegas debut, and the game just proved its ceiling is real. Before this weekend, the central unresolved question about 2XKO was whether its 1,080-person EVO registration reflected genuine competitive depth or was inflated by Riot's in-game skin incentive structure. After Sunday, that question has a concrete answer. M80's Hikari fought back from the loser's bracket to go 14-1 on the day and claimed the 2XKO championship, defeating Sonic Fox and Inzem, who had dominated the winner's bracket on Ari and Timo in grand finals. Now a 4-time EVO champion in 2 different games, Hikari praised the duo as training partners and credited twin brothers Toshi and Haru of Twins as his toughest opponents of the bracket. What this grand finals delivered visually and mechanically was a showcase of tag team play at the level the broader FGC audience had not seen before in this game. Sonic Fox and Inzem as a duo dominated from the jump. Their Ari and Timo synergy on the winner's side looked suffocating. Hikari's loser's run required him to solve that team and then solve it again in a grand finals reset situation under championship pressure. And that boy did both. The game also got its biggest announcement of the weekend attached to the result. After the 2XKO finals concluded, Riot confirmed that Lux and Samira are the 2 remaining Season 1 characters, with Lux arriving in fall 2026 and Samira by the year's end. A full Season 1 roadmap is now locked in. That matters for the competitive scene's ability to plan. When you know what the next 8 months of meta disruption look like, you can set up training and practice infrastructure around it, rather than reacting to surprise drops. Here's the stat that frames the whole 2XKO debut in competitive terms. EVO Las Vegas 2026 was only the 3rd official esports major since 2XKO's full release in January 2026, and the game drew 1,080 registered competitors, the 3rd largest event by entrant count. This game went from full launch to 3rd largest EVO title in 4 months. The Riot layoffs in February are a documented fact. The community concern about the game's long-term development is valid. But the competitive ceiling that Hikari, Sonic Fox, Bleed, and the rest of the field demonstrated on the arena stage is also now a documented fact. Both things are true. And finally, we have the last big story of the day. EWC 2026 just relocated to Paris because of a war, and the FGC has a $3 million stake in it. This is the geopolitical story that the FGC needs to understand fully, because it changes what the next 6 weeks look like for the biggest prize pool in fighting game history. The Esports Foundation announced the relocation of the Esports World Cup 2026 from Riyadh to Paris on May 20th, 2026, citing the 2026 Iran War, which had brought missile and drone strikes near the Saudi Arabia King Khalid airport and prompted multiple airlines to cancel or reduce regional flights to the area. The war had already caused the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix in Formula One to not take place as scheduled in April of this year. With over 2,000 players requiring reliable international transport, organizers moved the entire event to Paris Expo Porte de Versailles and kept the original dates intact. French President Emmanuel Macron met directly with Saudi Crown Prince MBS and with Esports Foundation CEO Ralph Reich to secure Paris as the host. For the FGC specifically, the 3 games worth $1 million prize pools, Fatal Fury, City of the Wolves, Street Fighter 6, and Tekken 8, now play in Paris rather than Riyadh. Fatal Fury's EWC block opens July 7th through the 10th. Street Fighter 6 follows July 29th through August 1st. Tekken 8 runs August 4th through the 7th. Combined, that is $3 million in prize money across 3 of the scene's flagship titles, all concentrated in a 6-week European window. Here's what this means for the competitive landscape. Because Mena RD had already secured his Capcom 13 qualification through earlier CPT events in 2026, his EWC Paris slot cascades to runner-up Shigematsu. Similarly, third place finisher Killzoo had already qualified, so his slot passed to fourth place Cryme. Paris is going to see some different faces than a pure EVO top 8 seeding would have ever produced. The FGC now gets a genuine European flagship moment in 2026. EVO Las Vegas handles the North American chapter, EVO Japan handles East Asia, and EWC Paris in July and August becomes the European-centered finale. France is having an extraordinary year as an FGC hub with the Mix-Up, Ultimate Fighting Arena, EVO France, and now EWC all landing in the calendar. Alright y'all, let's get around the horn. Let's have a little bit of multi-game micro news. Alright, as mentioned in the last video, before EVO, BlazBlue Central Fiction gets his first new character in 9 years. At EVO, we got the character. This one is genuinely unprecedented, because Arc System Works confirmed Trinity Glassfield as the first new fighter added to BlazBlue Central Fiction since Jubei in 2017, nearly 9 years of roster stasis now broken. Trinity has been present in the BlazBlue series since Calamity Trigger, but this will be her first time as a playable character. No gameplay was shown at EVO, no release window given, but this announcement signals something significant. ArcSys is treating catalog fighters as ongoing development projects rather than completed products in a market where new releases can crowd out older titles. The BlazBlue announcement signaled something meaningful about how publishers are treating catalog fighters in a market crowded with new releases, and it validated every single BBCF main who drove to Vegas believing the game still had a future. BlazBlue is not done, not even close. Alright, next up, Tekken 8. It gets Bob's gameplay trailer, and Roger Jr. is just around the corner. Bandai Namco showed Bob's gameplay trailer at EVO 2026 with early access for Season 3 pass holders arriving August 19th and general release for August 24th. A brief Roger Jr. teaser was shown at the end of the video. Roger Jr.'s full trailer is confirmed for EVO France in October. Bob's reveal trailer showed him on a skateboard during his intro, though interestingly he was not shown incorporating it into his moveset during in-game footage. But his fighting style maintains the speed and weight paradox that made him a fan favorite across Tekken 6 and Tekken Tag 2. The Season 3 DLC pipeline continues to lean heavily on legacy nostalgia, which is fine, but the community will eventually need something genuinely new. Alright, next up we got Guilty Gear Strive Robokai gameplay. It dropped at EVO. It releases July 2nd, and Koji Koko is back-to-back in Granblue Versus. Robokai's DLC debuts on July 2nd, 2026 as Season 5's second character. 2 additional unnamed fighters are confirmed for Winter 2026 and Spring 2027. On the Granblue Versus side, Paragon's Koji Koko repeated as champion, winning both EVO Japan 2026 and EVO Las Vegas 2026 in the same year, on Beatrix. A Nintendo Switch 2 port, the ID DLC character, and the major version 2.60 update all land September 17, 2026. A Switch 2 port gives Granblue Versus a new commercial window just as the game's competitive calendar heats up. Guilty Gear Strive's longevity and Granblue Versus Switch 2 play suggest ArcSys is fully committed to both titles through 2027. Next up, Virtua Fighter Crossroads' first new character is a mystery, and the theory crafting is already unhinged. Sega revealed the Banukawa Killer, a masked fighter with an implied connection to Pai Chan in the trailer, whose face is deliberately hidden when unmasked. Early theories suggest it's Pai's father Lao Chan, or her rival Lei Fei. The game is set for a 2027 launch. VF Crossroads is shaping up to be the franchise's biggest moment since the original Virtua 5 era, and every crumb of character reveal is going to be treated as a major FGC event. Sega knows exactly what they're doing with this tease, and they're going to ride it for months. Next up, Marvel Tokon confirms the Samurai Outriders, Blade, Deadpool, and Loki. Arc System Works took the stage at EVO 2026 to reveal the Samurai Outriders team for Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls, featuring Blade, Deadpool, and Loki. The game was also confirmed as the title at EVO France in October. Marvel Tokon's full base roster is now public, and the FGC's MVC Nostalgia engine is running at maximum capacity. Next up, EVO Singapore is confirmed for Marina Bay Sands. During EVO 2026, it was announced that an EVO event will be happening in Singapore for the first time at the Marina Bay Sands. EVO already has Las Vegas, Japan, and France in its annual calendar. Adding Singapore gives the brand a Southeast Asian footprint that the FGC's grassroots scene, particularly in the Philippines, Thailand, and Indonesia, has been quietly building towards for years. EVO is expanding globally under Kadia ownership, whatever you think of that ownership structure. Next up, we have Rivals of Aether 2. Plub won, but the DQ story isn't fully closed. In Rivals of Aether 2, Plub took the championship with Orkane and La Reina, defeating Cake Assault 3-2 in a grand finals that went to 5 games. The bracket produced a legitimate competitive result with recognizable names from the platform fighter scene. However, the pre-tournament DQ concern has not been fully resolved by the result. The Star GG page for EVO 2026 shows 10,320 total attendees across all events, and what fraction of the 1,022 Rivals registrants actually showed up and competed in pools remains unclear from public data. The next free character for Rivals of Aether 2 is Goi, arriving August 4th, 2026, with Mina from Mina the Hollower in development for 2027. And last up, we have Invincible Versus. Akuri wins. Season 1 DLC is already lined up. Invincible Versus made its EVO Las Vegas debut with Akuri winning on Omni-Man, outlasting Mr. Zippy in a sudden death conclusion. Universa and the Immortal as the first DLC fighters launched June 30th. Angstrom Levy as the third Season 1 character is confirmed for Fall 2026, playable at EVO France. For a game that launched 7 weeks before its arena stage appearance, the content velocity is impressive. Invincible Versus came to EVO, produced a memorable result, and is already moving into its first post-launch season. Healthier debut than many expected. And finally, guys, we got the timeline burn where we discuss community discourse and volatility in the FGC. Now, first up, we got the All Blanca Grand Finals, and it has already become an instant FGC cultural artifact. The discourse on Meta RD's championship is running in 2 simultaneous channels right now, and both are worth tracking. Channel 1 is pure celebration. Meta RD winning a Blanca mirror match in the Street Fighter 6 Grand Finals is unheard of. To see the character being used by both competitors in the championship set is a first. Blanca has never been considered a top-tier, optimal character in Street Fighter 6's competitive meta. He is beloved, wildly entertaining, and dangerous in Meta RD's hands, but you don't expect to see a Grand Finals mirror match on a character who sits mid-tier at most in most serious tier lists. The fact that Shigematsu came through the loser's bracket on Blanca himself and then forced a reset against the world's best Blanca player is the kind of organic storytelling that the FGC lives for. The pop-off reactions and clip compilations are already everywhere. Channel 2 is a more analytical conversation. What does back-to-back dominance at this level tell us about Street Fighter 6's competitive health? Meta RD winning 4 EVO titles in a single game era means no other competitor has been able to consistently knock him off the top. His bracket at EVO 2026 included Yamaguchi, the EVO Japan 2026 world record winner, and Punk, and none of them made top 8. When one player's ceiling is this far above the competitive field, the community begins asking whether that reflects brilliant play, a lack of equivalent challengers, or a meta that is not creating enough openings for variance. The Season 4 patch is coming later this year, and the Esports World Cup in Paris is the next pressure test. Alright, next up, we got Arslan Ash and his 5 EVO titles. The GOAT conversation is officially back open. 8 EVO titles in the Tekken series alone places Arslan Ash in a 3-way tie for the most EVO championships any player has won in the competition's history. Justin Wong holds 8 across Marvel vs. Capcom 2, Street Fighter 3, and Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Sonic Fox holds 8 across Injustice, Mortal Kombat X, Dragon Ball FighterZ, Skullgirls, and MK1. The community argument that is happening right now is whether earning all 8 in a single franchise is more or less impressive than accumulating them across 5 different titles. The case for Arslan: unprecedented game-specific depth, demonstrated dominance across 3 different game eras within Tekken 7 and Tekken 8, and doing it as a Pakistani player who had his original visa denied before EVO Japan 2019 when he was an unknown. His story from Lahore to 8 EVO titles is one of the most remarkable in competitive gaming history. In February 2026, Arslan announced that he had relocated to Japan to optimize his training and competition access, a sacrifice that serious competitors understand the weight of. The case for counter-argument: Wong and Sonic Fox demonstrated the ability to dominate across wildly different games and mechanics, which speaks to a different kind of adaptability. This is a legitimate disagreement about how we measure greatness, and it is going to be debated across every major FGC Discord and Reddit thread this week and maybe the months to come. The practical question nobody is really disputing. Arslan Ash is now the most reliable fact in fighting game competition. He has won at least one EVO title in every year he has attended since 2019. What a monster. My God. Congratulations to Arslan Ash. Next up, we have BlazBlue Central Fiction's Trinity Glassfield announcement. It broke something in the community. This one is hard to overstate. ArcSys confirmed the new BlazBlue Central Fiction DLC character ahead of their reveal, with Jubei released as the last roster addition in 2017, making Trinity the first addition in 9 years. Trinity has been present in the BlazBlue series since Calamity Trigger. She is a founding lore figure who has never been playable. The community reaction has been a mix of genuine disbelief and emotional investment that the FGC reserves for games it refused to let die. BBCF has run on tournament lineups through grassroots energy alone for nearly a decade without a single character update. The players who kept the game alive, who drove it across the country, who built the Discord servers, who ran locals for it when it had 40 people on a good weekend in big cities, are the ones losing their minds right now. And appropriately so. The unanswered questions are creating a second wave of discourse. No release date, no gameplay footage, no information on what the character will cost or how post-release DLC will work, even for a 9-year-old game. Is ArcSys planning more content beyond Trinity? Is this a one-character update or the opening of an actual new content cycle for BBCF? The announcement confirmed intent without answering any of the practical questions, which means every BBCF main in the world is currently running their own theory crafting operation about what comes next. I say a patch, let's go. If you care about legacy games getting ongoing support in a market that usually treats them as abandoned, BlazBlue's Trinity announcement is a data point worth paying attention to. It suggests publishers are recalibrating how they think about catalog titles. And lastly, what comes next after EVO? We have a few days to EWC Paris, we got the Kenshiro Scramble, and a Tekken patch that's still due. Alright y'all, EVO 2026 is done, but here's what the next 30 days look like for the FGC and why you shouldn't look away. Fatal Fury's EWC Paris block begins July the 7th, which is around 7 days from now, with a 1 million prize pool, and Kenshiro is legal for competition after less than 48 hours in players' hands. Whoever figures out how Kenshiro's pressure point system converts in tournament neutral fastest is going to have a meaningful edge that nobody has been able to develop counterplay for yet. Tekken 8's patch is still scheduled for July 8th, one day after City of the Wolves opens in Paris. The patch brings buffs for underperforming characters and revisions to Rage Art frame advantage. The patch drops into a meta that Arslan Ash just dominated at EVO with the 27-day-old Kunimitsu. The community needs to know what changes after that patch before EWC Tekken begins on August 4th. Guilty Gear Strive's Robokai arrives July 2nd, and King of Fighters 15 gets his roster-wide balance patch the same day. The Invincible Vs. Season 1 DLC launch, Universa and the Immortal, drops June 30th, and the Street Fighter 6 meta conversation continues into EWC Paris, where Meta RD will not be competing, meaning we will get a fresh field for the $1 million Street Fighter Championship that plays out July 29th through August 1st. So, the bottom line for EVO 2026. 3 record-breaking title milestones, 2 debut game champions proving their floors, 1 shadow drop character who immediately affects a $1 million tournament in 7 days, and a community that spent a week arguing about whether it was even going to show up, and then produced one of the most milestone-dense EVO weekends in the event's history anyway. The FGC showed out. It always does. Alright, so this is your post-EVO FGC briefing for today. 8 EVO titles for Arslan. The FGC does not stop for anybody. Alright, I'll see y'all on the other side. I'll have another one of these for you on Thursday. And as always, please visit carryoutenfight.com for all of your fighting game gear needs. We have some cool designs that we think you'd love rocking at your next event, tournament, or convention. Check us out, and we'll provide you with a 10% off coupon, limited time. Thanks for watching, y'all, and make sure you're always hungry.